Your book has made me laugh. It's made me cry. It's made me close it in anger and have to walk away. But mostly, it's really empowered me to stand up for myself. Welcome to the Hydrow channel. My name is Mac Evans. I'm a Hydrow athlete and former collegiate rower. And today I'm joined by Bonnie Garmus. For those who don't know Bonnie, she is the New York Times bestselling author of Lessons in Chemistry. Bonnie, you are a copywriter and creative director who has worked widely in the fields of technology, medicine, and education. Bonnie is an open water swimmer, mother to two pretty amazing daughters, and most notably to us here at Hydrow is Bonnie is a rower. Born in California, most recently from Seattle, she currently lives in London with her husband and her dog, 99. Bonnie, thank you so much for being here. It's so great to see you again.
It's great to see you too, Mac. I'm really excited.
Well, I know that you are wrapping up your US book tour, heading to Germany pretty soon for another book
Tomorrow.
tour. Tomorrow? Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I was gonna ask, where are you and how are you?
I just got back to London yesterday and I'm leaving at 6 in the morning for Germany.
Oh my gosh. I know, and you were in Boston a couple weeks ago for Head of the Charles. You're all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot of travel.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine you're doing a lot of press and interviews about lessons in chemistry, but I'd love to talk to you mostly about our common ground, which is rowing, and
Great.
how that's played a role in your life and in your book. With that said, can you tell us a little bit about your rowing journey and how you got started?
Well, I didn't discover rowing until I was in my 30s. To be honest, I'd never heard of it, which I know just sounds weird, but I didn't live any place where there was rowing. And when I was ready to go to college, I was living abroad. There was no rowing there. I was living in Bogota. So I'd never heard of it. And we moved to Seattle and I was standing out on our new porch looking out at the lake because everybody in Seattle seems to live on a lake. And I saw this long, thin boat go by. And I said, "What's that called?" And my husband said, "That's called rowing." And I went down the next day to a rowing center and took my very first learn to row lesson.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I feel like that's such a lot of people find it that way. It's not the most common thing, but
Yeah.
once you're into it, you're hooked, you know?
Oh, yeah, you are hooked.
Is that where you row in Seattle?
Yeah. So I rowed at Green Lake for a lot of years and then at Pocock.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's little boys in the boat
The
action.
boys in the boat.
So at Hydrow, it's our mission to bring rowing to everyone. We believe rowing is the most efficient workout you can do, but we also believe that as humans, we crave connection and belonging and synchronicity, which is what rowing is all about. So I feel like when you meet a rower, you almost have that instant connection and like it's like an unspoken bond. Do you feel that you have experienced that?
Oh, definitely. You know, when I joined a rowing team and when we started, especially when we started training to compete, you become this family and you kind of worry about each other and take care of each other. And sometimes you get really mad at each other, but it was really a great experience. And I really loved it. I don't think there's another sport that I've ever done that it requires so much cooperation and communication and collaboration. And also just love of the sport. I think all of the pain you experience as a rower brings the other rowers in the boat together. And I think once you feel that swing and the boat starts moving, you become addicted to it.
Yeah. It's hard to describe that swing. It's like, I think it feels like magic. It's like gliding.
Me too. The very first time I think I ever experienced it was oddly enough during a race where we just suddenly clicked and it suddenly felt like we were just lifting the boat and we just started walking these other boats. And it didn't seem like we were working as hard as it didn't last but like 15 seconds, but that was enough for me to feel that lift. It was great.
It's enough to keep you coming back and
Yeah,
wanting to find it again, I think. It's worth the pain.
exactly. Yeah.
While you were writing Lessons in Chemistry, did rowing play a big part of your daily routine or creative process in any way?
Yeah, I erg almost every day. Yeah, because especially in between rowing teams, I'm here in London where I could row, but I travel so much I can't really join a team right now. Um, but so I erg. And you know how erging is. It's sort of a love-hate relationship, just like it is with rowing. But the great thing about the erg is that you know it's sitting there for you and you can get a great workout in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on how hard you decide to work, but it is really a thing that I've relied on for a long time now to know that it's just there and I can go row. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's super low impact and, you don't have to leave your house if you have a rower.
Yeah.
All it takes is sitting down. It's the hardest part.
Although don't you love that about rowing, that the whole thing is done sitting down? I've always loved that. It's just like with swimming, the whole thing is just laying down.
Yeah.
And once on the erg, if you can just relax and it becomes this meditation, kind of a painful meditation, but a meditation nonetheless. I really like that about it. And I think it changes my whole mindset. My mind becomes very, I don't know, oiled or something when I'm doing it. I always feel better afterwards. Not before, but afterwards. Not during, but afterwards.
Sometimes during, but definitely after.
No, during is great. Once you're warmed up, then you're good. It's just getting past that first 20 minutes or so when you go, oh, should I?
Yeah. So when you sit down to erg, what's your go-to workout? Is it 10K?
No, I mean, I do 10K every December. I try to do 10K a day. It's sort of crazy. And I've done that every year for a billion years now. And at the end of it, I'm always just sort of shocked at how you start out and you think, oh, 10K is a lot. And it is a lot. But by the end of it, you think, oh, I just have to do 10K. And then later, January hits and you think, how did I do that? Yeah. But my favorite workout, I always do a 2K warm up. And then I like to do ladders and things like that. And I almost always end with a 2K of just sprints, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off.
Okay, I like it. We're going to have to make the Bonnie Garmus workout at Hydrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm more of a steady state gal, so I like those long, low efforts, but I like sprints. The sprints are
stroke rate? What stroke rate do you row at?
I usually always start at like an 18.
Me too.
Yeah, it's good. It's tough. And then I feel like 22, 24 is like a fun little sweet spot.
That's where I am too. I do all of my steady state at a 22. And then when I do the 2K at 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, then maybe I go up to a 28, but it's only 30 seconds. Yeah. I never go up to 32 or 42 or anything.
I mean, if you can harness the power, you don't need to.
That's right. Well, I'm not sure I always harness the power, but I do like to have that sprint at the end because by that time I'm completely warmed up.
Yeah, and you're ready for it.
Yeah.
I think that everyone here at Hydrow has read your book. You are such an inspiration, specifically to Hydrow athletes and Olympians. Danny Hansen, Aisha Rafai. We fangirl over you. Olympic hopeful Sarah Moon. Like we started a little book club here. And looking at your journey as a writer, I've read that your very first book was rejected quite a few times.
98.
98 times.
Just 98.
Just 98. No big deal. Are there any lessons that you've learned from rowing or fitness that you've applied to your journey as a resilient author?
Exactly. I have. And I think rowing is the sport of resilience and endurance more than swimming or anything else, because you know what, if I'm swimming a long distance, I can stop and take a break. But if you're in a boat and you're on a race course, you don't get to stop and say, I just need to get some water or whatever. You have to keep going. And I think that was after all the rejections I got on my first book, I really did quit. I just wanted to quit. But then, you come back and you start thinking, it's really easy to quit. but rowing doesn't let you quit. And I think that's invaluable. I think it's one of the few sports where you can't just decide to opt out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And such a great lesson to just continually learn. Like, I feel like I learn that every time I sit down, because you always get that little voice in your head that's like, well, it's easier to stop. But
I always hear that voice. And, I put rowing in the book, because I'm not a chemist and I'm not a cook. And I had to do plenty of research for those things. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to put in something that I knew. And obviously I knew rowing, but I also think, rowing is the sport of balance. And there's an issue of balance in the boat. I mean, in the book, it's an underlying theme of the book, that things like racism or misogyny are things that show imbalance, climate change imbalance. And so nature doesn't create an imbalance. We create those imbalances. And so in the book, we have chemistry, which is the science of balance. We have rowing, which is truly the sport of balance. And then there's a balance between the dark themes in the book and the lighter themes. So that's what I was aiming for. I thought rowing was perfect for that.
What did you hope readers would take away from your book?
I think the most important thing I hope readers take away is that they really do have a chance to change something. And they can change something in themselves that leads them to change something in the world, because the world is full of problems. And so maybe you're having a struggle in your life and you think, this is just how it's going to be. It doesn't have to be that way. It may mean that you have to make a change or you have to step up or be brave. But the whole point of the book is that chemically we change every day. We are designed to change. And so it's only our minds that we have to change a little bit about the whole idea of change. We're actually very, very good at change. Change is not impossible.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know if you've known that, but you have inspired a brand new community of rowers to make a change in their life, to start rowing. There have been so many members, Hydrow members, that have reached out to me and told me that your book is what inspired them to start rowing, to see what it's all about,
That's cool.
Did you think that your story would have that impact?
No, I can't tell you when I'm on tour, so many people come up to me and they said, I've started rowing. Or they'll say, I said, like, you've joined a team. And so I know that they're learning, or they'll say, I bought a rower. And I always have that little fear. Like, I always say the same thing. Did you watch the lessons on how to erg correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep your legs flat. And so I love that. I love knowing that people are embracing this great sport. And there's, and having your own erg at home, your own rower, is this entry to this level of fitness, convenient fitness that won't hurt your body, except for maybe you get calluses, but that's not so bad.
What's a rough handshake here and there?
You know what? It's the blisters from the boat that are going to get you, not from the erg.
Yeah. Well, in your book, Elizabeth ergs 10K a day. So let's talk about Elizabeth, the main character, who's a chemist, a chef, a feminist. She's ahead of her time in so many ways. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things about her is just how true she is to herself, and she knows exactly who she is and what she deserves, and she's not afraid to challenge tradition. Mm-hmm. I have to know, where did your inspiration come from when creating Elizabeth? Are there strong women in your life that you drew from?
You know what? I was writing her as my own role model. I really needed a strong woman role model at that time. And I realized that I needed to craft my own, because I really wanted her to be this person who really believed in herself, didn't doubt herself, and knew how to say no, and would back that up with conviction. And so I didn't really know any women like that in my personal life. And I wanted to. And I think that, we have some politicians and things that are able to do that. But I wanted this woman who was more like the rest of us, at work, to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I loved writing her, but her inspiration came from a bad day I'd had at work where I was in an all male meeting, which was not unusual when I was working in technology. And after I'd finished presenting some ideas, which were met with complete silence, a man in the room then repeated all of my ideas, claimed them as his own. And sure enough, to this day, this entire campaign is still in his name. I protested during that meeting, and it was like I didn't exist in that meeting. And it was weird because I'd probably given presentations like that hundreds of times. But that day, when I was walking back to my desk, I thought, how many other women has this happened to today in this city, in this country, in this world? And the number kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger in my head. And it's a waste of everyone's time that this happens. It's a waste of talent. And that's when I started Lessons in Chemistry that day.
At least some good came from it. I mean,
oh, it really, I have a big spot in my heart now for what I call constructive anger.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think, especially as an athlete, like I've heard so many times, oh, you're strong for a girl, or you don't get that. It's always like some kind of feeling of being minimized, and it still happens today.
Yeah, it's still happening quite a bit. And, the funny thing is, recent studies indicate that women will beat a man every time at an endurance sport.
Really?
In swimming, yeah, especially in things like swimming, and probably even on the erg, to be honest, women have a much better metabolism for this sort of thing. And we actually outlast a man in long distance almost every time. Women who run ultra marathons post better times than men.
I've actually seen that. I've followed a race. It was, I forget where it was from, California to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
This time was a woman.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's part of our physiology. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not just physiology. Women have an innate sense of resilience. It's different from a man's resilience. And we have more slow twitch fibers, and they have a preponderance of fast switched fibers. And so when it comes to endurance, we're pretty hard to beat.
I mean, I love that.
I know. Go ahead, bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that reminds me of kind of growing up being the only girl on the court. I used to play basketball and training with the boys and trying to keep up, but not really having to keep up.
I know, and it is really interesting. I also played basketball. I was actually pretty terrible at it because I'm a terribly lazy runner. And I would just stand at the end and just say, throw me the ball, which was not popular with my coach, but I just hated the running. But I know what you mean. I also really loved baseball when I was growing up. And I thought when I was like 5, I might become a professional baseball player. And I remember my dad saying, that is not possible because you're a girl.
Yeah. Wow.
I used to go to Little League practices and teach the boys how to hit a home run.
That is amazing. I feel like that probably drove you even more to be like, I will.
I know. I was not popular with those boys in Little League. But I just remember my dad he coached Little League, even though he only had daughters. He coached this boys' Little League team for a couple of years, and he'd have me come in and say, now watch how she uses her entire body. Bam, bam, bam.
Listen up, boys. Bonnie's got something to show you.
I know. Anyway.
I was just talking to Danny Hansen about this, actually. We're talking about Elizabeth Zott, and obviously she's a rower in the book. We were both wondering what makes her a good rower, and why is she a 2-seat?
I put her in 2-seat because I knew she'd be smaller than some of the men. I was going to put her in bow for a while, but then I thought, no, I'm going to put her in 2-seat. And it was just like this big thing in my head. I had to put her on port because that's my favorite side. Mm-hmm. But I think what makes her a good rower is her ability to keep going despite great odds. And that's what rowers have to do. And I think the other thing that makes her a good rower is that she understood that there's a lot of science to rowing. There's a lot of physics to rowing. And so, she kind of explained the stroke to herself. I think most people really have to learn it, but she could look at it from a scientific angle and say, oh, I see what the leverage is. I see what this would do, and kind of get that. But also she had, a great teacher in Calvin Evans who had rowed for Cambridge and of course knows exactly what the stroke should be.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking that because she's analytical, she's technical, she'd probably be a great bow seat too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, honestly, I just wanted to make her a port, so I had to put her in 2-seat.
Well, you row port? Do you row starboard too?
I row port.
Well,
yeah, I prefer it. Oh, you row starboard.
Maybe we can take out a pair sometime.
Oh, a pair, my favorite boat. I was in a pair race one time and with my pair partner, and she was in bow and I was in stroke. And as we went down the race course, we hit every boat and we crossed lanes and we capsized one boat and then we came in second. Needless to say, it was not good, but we were so triumphant at the end. All these other people are swimming. We were not popular.
But you were not swimming, and
we were not swimming.
Something.
Oh my God, it was the worst race ever. I don't know what got into us. It was horrible.
I've had one of those too, where you end up in someone else's lane and you're like, I don't want to be here either.
Yeah, so sorry. Oh, did we just hit you?
Apologies.
Yeah, right. Oh, you're swimming now.
Yeah.
Oh, look, the finish line is right there.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to finish. Oh, it's terrible.
We've had a lot of close calls like that on hydro workouts sometimes. Sometimes some kayakers, there are some rogue kayakers or, just some rowers in the way, and you got to roll with it.
See, this is why I don't want to be in bow. I don't want to steer.
Well, I have to say that one of my former teammates actually recommended your book to me a couple of years ago, and when she had read it, she was just like, Mac, you have to read this. It's such a necessary story about, resilience, the female experience, female empowerment. And then also everything about rowing is so entertaining and captured so accurately. And she was wondering, because the book was adapted into a TV show, there were obviously some changes that were made. What has been your favorite adaptation and why?
My favorite part of the adaptation in the show?
Mm-hmm.
That is a good... This is just the author going, I can't believe they changed that.
Yeah.
I think, they weren't going to keep the rowing, to be honest. And then they put it back in. Wow. So I think that I'm so glad, even if they're erging completely wrong. Yeah. I know when I saw that, I went, you guys, I told you that erging is actually, there's a style to it. Yeah. But I think that made me happiest that it was put back in. And I think it added this element for me that just felt more true to her character.
Yeah.
I was disappointed though that they made them scullers instead of sweep.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I would love to see them be in an 8, but
that's what I wanted. I wanted her to be in an 8 with all these huge people and be holding her own, you know.
And my last question for you actually comes from Aisha Rafai, hydro athlete and Olympian.
Oh, wow.
She is saying, or she wants to know, if the book was set in modern day, would Calvin still be building the rowing machine, or would he be buying a hydro for Elizabeth?
Oh my gosh, no, he would buy the hydro. There's no question. And I think that he would appreciate the way that you can do workouts on the screen and have people, prodding you on, encouraging you to keep going, because that's what a coxswain does. And without a coxswain, you've got to have this kind of mental strength to keep going, or you have a long tape that, some sort of Spotify list that you're listening to that you hope keeps motivating you. But I think Calvin would love the video component, and he would love knowing that he's racing and things like that. I think it's really important.
I think he'd definitely get competitive on the leaderboard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Can you imagine? I think that will happen with me too. That's how I am. Yeah. I hate to lose.
Yeah. We both. I sit down to do steady state and then I look at the leaderboard and I'm like, well, I guess I'm racing today.
I know, like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're actually moving. Yeah, no, it's really good. I think it's really important. And yeah, they would definitely go for the Hydrow.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for writing this story. It's honestly, your book has made me laugh. It's made me cry. It's made me close it in anger and have to walk away. But mostly it's really empowered me to stand up for myself and kind of recognize, how I should be treated, especially in a workplace and amongst colleagues. So it's also even inspired me to row more. So
oh my gosh. Okay, that might be going too far. I think it's great. And I appreciate you saying that because, that's what I was intending. And I think women today really, really have to speak up. We really can't be silent, and we have to support each other. And then we have to attract male allies and have them speak up too.
Yeah.
Because, sexism hurts everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie. Anytime you want to row on the Charles, let me know.
Okay.
We will.
All right, you're on.
Okay? Next time you're in Boston.
Okay, that sounds great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mac. This is wonderful.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. All right, you too. Bye.